In the past year, a lot has changed for women in Hollywood, politics, and the workplace, and across the country. But is it enough? The Me Too movement empowering women in many industries to share their experiences of sexual harassment and take a stand against inequality. But while a lot has changed, there's still a whole lot of work that needs to be done. That is why our dear friend Mika Brzezinski has decided to re-release her 2011 bestseller, Know Your Value: Women, Money, and Getting What You're Worth. This time, she's incorporating what she has learned from the Me Too movement and the Trump presidency. Co-host of Morning Joe, founder of Know Your Value, a movement sparked by the book, Mika Brzezinski, joins me now. Mika, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for writing the book in 2011. Thank you for bringing it up, bringing it back now. Why now?
Well, a lot of reasons. Number one, we're in the age of Trump, and so many women are stepping up. So many women are fed up and jumping in, and I think they need the tools, the tips, the strategies that have been so successful. When this book first came out, I was staggered by how many women came up to me. Since the book first came out, every day, everywhere I go, I read your book, I got a raise. Women from all walks of life. I read your book, I got a raise. I thought I was sharing a few little stories about, ways that we can improve, what not to do, what to do. I had no idea how universal the theme was. Successful women getting there despite these issues, or women who just don't know even how to get in the door, what to do, what to look like, what to feel like, how to do it. And it is actually, once you get there, so simple. And so that's what I love about it, because I love to watch the light bulb go off in women's heads and see them take ownership of this. But now more than ever, we need to own our voices, we need to use them, and then we need to handle what comes after.
But Mika, where's the disconnect? You wrote this in 2011. It was a bestseller then, you changed women's lives. Yet, we're going to watch Christine Ford testify tomorrow, and they've had to trot in a female special prosecutor because of the optics. An assistant. They're worried about the way it looks. They were not worried about continuing to elect those same men.
Yeah.
We have the president saying, why didn't the loving parents get involved? They must have been drunk. That shows to me zero progress.
The president's disgusting comments about one of the accusers, I think speaks for itself. I think it's disgusting. And I think most women do too. I don't know why some allow it in this president. But in terms of Republican leaders, it's really an incredible moment, because this is an opportunity to, I think, appeal to the female vote, especially with the midterms coming up. Why wouldn't you say, I want to hear her story? Why wouldn't you say, I want to respect her story and understand it, and I want to get the facts? Why wouldn't you ask for an FBI investigation at this point if you have nothing to hide? The only thing you can do is actually win politically by having these women be heard.
Well, you know whose value was not heard 2 nights ago? Brett Kavanaugh's wife. When she was asked in that Fox interview, should there be an investigation to clear your family's name? And what happened? Her husband cut her off and answered the question.
Oh, I see it differently. What I saw was, and I don't know her, but I feel really badly for her.
Absolutely.
No matter what the situation is.
And his daughters.
And his daughters. And this is a family that potentially could be being smeared and convicted unfairly. We don't know. So I think both sides need to be treated with great respect. But in that moment, I felt something personal. I saw her just kind of look at him, and that look might have said, help me. I don't know what to say. She doesn't do this for a living. This is not her job. She's not a federal judge. And I think the question might have been too much for her. It might have been something she doesn't want to answer. She might have been looking, I don't have a judgment on that. I don't think he jumped in to cut her off. Look at it again. There's a lot more going on, I think, in just one look between them than potentially what people are saying.
Do you think Me Too has made a difference? I know your book has made a difference in so many women's lives professionally. You're bringing it back now. We talk about Me Too so often. Do you think things are really changing?
I think the tips and strategies in this book respond to Me Too perfectly. It's like, we were talking about having your voice, not apologizing, stepping up for yourself, learning to press reset, digging deep, finding your passion, learning to what the physicality of communicating feels like, what your voice control should be, exactly how you want to connect when you're trying to make a point. That has everything to do with Me Too, because if you're in a situation that perhaps you might be uncomfortable with, what women have done in the past is hold it in, is hold it for years, is suffer. How about in real time? How about pushing back in real time and having the ability, the stage, and the welcome from the rest of the world to do it in real time and know that there will not be anything but consequences for the person who might be harassing you. Right now, we feel ramifications just if someone starts to harass us. What about being able to say, "What are you doing? Why are you rubbing? What is this? I actually, this is not me, but I want to have a meeting. Just sit down. Let's continue." How about having that voice in real time and being able to press reset in real time? These are the things in this book that you can do. It doesn't fix anything about the other side and where they need to improve. And I think in the age of Me Too, men are facing a reckoning where they realize behavior that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, it doesn't fly today. And it's because we have voices. So let's use them.
And we got your back, lady.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.